we've got representatives from the South African Rights Commission. We've got representatives from the Commission of Gender Equality, amongst others. Also, when we talk about key stakeholders in the department, we also want to make reference to our Kholikane, Segwanele, It's Enough ambassadors. You will be seeing one of them later on in the program. Also, I would like to further acknowledge all the stakeholders that are here, coming from different sectors, government departments, as I mentioned, also public entities, corporate, civil society, and everyone. You are all important. Members of the media, thank you very much for honoring this invitation, ladies and gentlemen. To take us through why we are here and to outline the purpose of today is the CEO. But just before the CEO comes up, I would like to call upon one of the Kholikane ambassadors that I was making reference to, DJ Gaddafi, just to set today's tone for us. Over to you, Gaddafi.
Good morning. Am I audible? Guys, I'm a poet, so I'm going to be rendering poetry, so I've got to be audible. Like they've already mentioned, my name is Bitumelo Tevin Mainganya, also known as Gaddafi the poet. I'm an ambassador ya Kholikane, which is a gender-based violence and femicide campaign under the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture. And today, as they already mentioned that we're launching human rights, I felt that it is very much important that I share a poem that speaks to the marginalized group of persons with disabilities, more specifically being albinism, since, well, I'm an activist as well, under the banner of albinism. Why? Because there's so many things that are going through, that are happening in Africa and also in our own country, wherein you find persons with albinism are being killed for multi-purposes and other things. So I just felt like it would be very much important that I share this message with you. I am very black that you cannot see my dark skin with your naked eyes. I'm very black that you cannot see my dark skin with your naked eyes. I'm very black that you cannot see my dark skin with your naked eyes. It is hard to be me living under this skin condition. My upbringing was rooted and embedded by uninformed myths, escalating within the societal bliss, doing as they please and wish, forgetting that I'm a human being. I got distant teased, which really dismantled my self-esteem, and ever since I've never had peace. Put yourself in my shoes and wonder how you would have coped being called a thing. You see, rich kids believed I was a product of a witch, having to live and mingle with something they've never seen. Do you blame them? Well, I don't. Even old people still believe the very same thing. You find mothers in the streets turning around and say sis and spits on their chest, avoiding to give birth to white kids. It is painful to see more and more people living with albinism being treated like trash as if it don't belong to the Mother Earth. But I, like a struggle soldier, tie my boots so tight because the journey has not started yet. I will fight them till the end because I don't mind being in a prison cell if that's the price I've got to pay for my self-worth. You see, I value myself. I was not far-fetched. My mother gave birth. Why do I have to face killings and death? Should I blame death or birth? Well, I blame the educational system for failing to teach the kids about albinism. They left the matter unattended and neglected, watering the seeds of racism and the roots of prejudice. Mentally, I'm schizophrenic, heart-toned, and so lost as I wrote this. My lips and eyes are dry, craving for peace within communities because they say united we stand. They say united we stand, divided we fall. But how do I unite knowing that somewhere in Tanzania I've got a price tag? I raise my fist for young and old heroes and heroines slaughtered for ancestral works. They never cared about their dreams, ambitions, and determination. The government turned a blind eye, providing their families with black body bags. But I carried the burden on my back, calling upon for societal help to help reduce more suicidal cases. Because they preach social inclusivity. They preach social inclusivity within their communities. They preach social inclusivity within their communities, proving the fact that I'm not integrated within their society, define the word albino as an animal in their dictionaries, placing a permanent mindset about my sense of being in the minds of intellectuals, individuals, and dignitaries. What's left is for all the secretaries to note down the word and deliver it to their higher authorities, because life is hard, matters of the heart, praying for cageless lives, and I've been working hard. Life is hard, matters of the heart, praying for cageless lives, and I've been working hard. You see, I'm very black that you cannot see my dark skin with your naked eyes. I'm very black that you cannot see my dark skin with your naked eyes. We fought for freedom, not to harm each other because of the color of our skin. We fought for freedom, not to harm each other because of the color of our skin. I'm very black that you cannot see my dark skin with your naked eyes.
Hulikane, Segwanele, it's enough. That's the program that the department came up with. And Gaddafi that you just heard today is one of the ambassadors, as he indicated, that is working with the department in this drive to push back against the scourge of gender-based violence and femicide. I would like to also introduce, if you can just stand for just a second, also Majens, who's one of the ambassadors. Very familiar to all of us in South Africa. I always say he used to play for all the clubs except the one I support. I won't mention it today. Thank you very much, Gaddafi. I am going to call upon the CEO, Umama Ujane Mufamadi. For us to be comfortable here, we need to be welcomed, but I'm sure she will also talk to the purpose of today's launch. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Program Director, Acting DG Khumalo. I want to start by greeting our Minister of Sport, Arts and Culture, Minister Natim Tetwa, our Deputy Minister of Justice and Constitutional Development, Deputy Minister John Jeffrey, the Acting Chairperson of the Commission for Gender Equality, Mayor Nomasonto Mazibuko, our DDG Shkwatamba, the Chairperson of the Playhouse Company, Mayor Kunene, the Hulikani ambassadors, other stakeholders, ladies and gentlemen, the Macheron. It is always a pleasure to welcome you all to Freedom Park. But today we're especially honored to be hosting the launch of the Human Rights Month. We generally call ourselves a monument to human rights and dignity as Freedom Park. And maybe just a brief is that Freedom Park is a cultural institution housing a museum and a memorial dedicated to chronicling and honoring those who contributed to South Africa's liberation. We are a national and international tribute and advocate to liberty, diversity, and human rights. We preserve the liberation heritage by honoring those whose rights were violated. You're sitting in this space called the amphitheater. Embracing the amphitheater, it's our main monument called the Wall of Names. Within the walls, if you take a walk, you will notice that we have inscribed over 185,000 names across the 8 conflicts events that shaped what we call South Africa today. These 185,000 names are a testimony to the brutality and violation, gross human rights violation that were meted out to our people in this beautiful land. And amongst the 185,000 names inscribed here, we have inscribed the 69 people who died in the Sharpeville massacre. They were embarked on a peaceful protest against the past laws, but they were brutally killed. Over 180 of them were also injured. We believe, Minister, that some of the challenges we face today, the violence, the divisions, and other forms of conflicts, are due to the unfinished project of healing and closure. It seems, one would say, probably the work of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission needs to commence. It's not over. We say this because from where we stand as Freedom Park, as we try to fulfill the mandate as enshrined in the Constitution, and I will just quote from the preamble of the Constitution, where it says, and I quote, "We, the people of South Africa, recognize the injustices of our past, honor those who suffered for justice and freedom in our land." And it goes on to talk about healing the divisions of the past and establish a society based on democratic values, social justice, and fundamental human rights. We see ourselves as Freedom Park fulfilling that mandate to a certain extent. Secondly, as we always say, we fulfill the recommendations of the TRC, especially if you recall the Reparations and Rehabilitation Committee that focused on the restorations of dignity of victims and survivors of these gross human rights violations. They speak of symbolic reparation to help communities remember the pain and the victories of the past. It also entails the setting aside a day for commemoration and remembrance and reconciliation, as well as the building of monuments and memorials like Freedom Park is. That is why we believe we fulfill that mandate. One of the outcomes of this committee was also the reparations and rehabilitation policy. And I just want to highlight briefly some of the outcomes and the principles that the policy identified. One being redress, the right to fair and adequate compensation, restitution, the right to restoration, rehabilitation, the right, but in particular what I want to emphasize on rehabilitation, it's also where they talk about rehabilitation of people and individuals, healing of the memories, if I may put it like that. The restoration of dignity, where we talk about restoration of a sense of self-worth and reassurance of non-repetition. That commitment that never again shall it be, as Madiba said, that there will be these gross human rights violations, oppression of one by the other. We believe that if these principles are revisited and specific programs are implemented to work towards addressing the challenges that our society faces, we will be able to achieve in the process reconciliation, social cohesion, and nation building. From our engagements, and ministers, we do engage a lot of stakeholders, communities, veterans, survivors, and I'm glad that some of the survivors, the veterans, are here amongst us. I've seen few. The quest from the community is the restoration for the victims' dignity, the healing of the survivors, as I've said, their families and their communities at large. We believe that if there is focus in these programs, it will go a long way towards ensuring the human rights for all, especially from the sense of building a sense of self-worth and dignity. And we believe that if we do that, we will be on a course to peace, unity, and stability, but also healing, non-repetition, and peaceful coexistence. Having said that, we know and acknowledge that government has gone a long way, but there is still many hills to climb. And we believe collectively, government and non-government organization, if we put our hands together, we are on the right course. Africans believe that one finger cannot pick up a grain. That is the African saying. It's not the responsibility of government alone. It's our individual and collective responsibility to ensure human rights for all. You are all welcome. I thank you.
Thank you very much, CEO. Indeed, we are feeling welcomed, and thank you for taking us through the history of this place. Very important, especially for the young people in our midst, that we don't forget. We forgive, indeed, but we don't forget, and we know where we come from as the country. Ladies and gentlemen, I am going to hand over to my co-program director, who would facilitate the next section, which is the panel discussion. She is going to talk in more detail about the focus areas, but allow me to just mention that amongst the different basic rights as contained within the Bill of Rights, as mentioned earlier on, is the right to human dignity, the right to equality, the right to language use and cultural practice, the right to access information, amongst others. Masichaba Khumalo will take us through the approach that we'll be using in that next session. But before that, Gaddafi, you just gave us a taste. We want to hear more. Is that not the case? We are celebrating, by the way. We know we've got a lot of challenges in the country. We know where we come from. We know where we are. But let us also be in a celebratory mood, because very few countries have been able to achieve what we have achieved as South Africa. So Gaddafi, give us a taste. It's going to be a whole lot more than a taste now, I'm sure.
Yeah, ka language ya ko strateng ba re ke futile, no. Ke futile my gents. So I've got my colleague right here, and the one reason that Kimmurijora must come on stage with me, it's simply because I want you to understand that the next poem that I'm going to be reciting it's on gender-based violence and femicide. And who are we as Khulekani? This is a group of men that decided to take a step and say, we are going to fight against gender-based violence and femicide. And we're going to call upon other men to join in and in helping us fighting this scourge. And also, I would want to put it out there to every man in the house who's hearing me right now, who's listening to the sound of my voice, to say that if you are sitting where you are sitting and you know of someone who's abusing, whether it's your friend, your father, your uncle, your brother, or whoever, and you are not saying anything about it, I want to tell you this: you are also a perpetrator. It is upon us all to fight the gender-based violence and femicide scourge, because, like they mentioned, so it's for all of us to partake in and fight this gender-based violence and femicide pandemic. Wena mosadi wa mo Afrika yo a tshwarago thipa ka bogaleng mabogo a gagwe a lwe o sa le sesetsana o se maaka sa motho o legiteng dinku ja hlaba mogoshi ka go thia goshi ga dimagoshi a hlaba megolokwane le kgono ke gantšha ka bonna le bonna bja ka ge o ile wa mpha monyetla go tšweletša le go phatlalatša peu ya popelo ya gago. Wena mosadi wa mo Afrika yo a tshwarago thipa ka bogaleng mabogo a gagwe a lwe o sa le sesetsana o se maaka sa motho o legiteng dinku tša hlaba mogoshi ka go thia goshi ga dimagoshi a hlaba megolokwane le kgono ke e gantšha ka bonna le bonna bja ka ge o ile wa mpha monyetla go tšweletša le go phatlalatša peu ya popelo ya gago. He hit her head hard on the floor. Her heart paused as his strong muscled arms armed to wrinkle her brown face. My feet vibrates to an earthquake like shakes. That was a soul and body back, mopping the tiled floor with fusion of blood diluted with tears. She screamed her heart out, loudly ornamenting the background melody intentionally played to distort his abusive deeds. She got used to the floor and befriended the patterns of the tile lines. She converses with the roof daily, glorifying his immoral endeavors. She no longer feels our compliments. The word love to her is a scrambled version of an abbreviation of violence. Disdain overwhelmed the humble sentiments. She feels empty inside, dirty outside. In essence, she sees a walking corpse in herself. She covers her scars with a ring of lies, making up stories when confronted face to face. Culture and religion blinded both victim and tyrant, dominating their sheep by having relations without a concern. A womanhood violated deeply to an extent that she will bleed heavily as satisfies and feels proud about how strong he is, bragging about how man enough he is. Her pride restricts her to walk away, believing that endurance is the only way to conquer the intense pain felt inside. She can't socialize with workers anymore. Fed up to the core, neglected support groups, women schemes because she believes she is doing it for her kids. Neighbors no longer gossip, kneeling on the palm of her floor, pleading with the Most High to deliver her from the emotional torture and physical agony. She has a no scar. She has a nose scar, a thigh scar, and a deep hole in her heart filled with anger and regret. She was abused by her mother tongue when she tried tongue twisting in the name of multilingualization, and she said, "Thixo ndiyabulela xa undiva xa ndigqiba ukuthandaza wonke amaxesha." Her click of annoyance tickled her eardrums through a sweet sour voice that moves simultaneously with the rhythm that creates the beat which is an African beat, the beat which is nourished and nurtured through an African drum. I speak of ashiko drum, djembe drum, marimba drum, combo drum. Ideologically speaking, there was in the beat that beat by beat, and one could say she's a professionalism of a lyricism through how she spits a euphemisms, trying to redress the imbalance of the past that black African women face on their daily basis, walking around with their blue and black-eyed faces, claiming to protect their marriages. You see, I salute the real men. I salute the real men not by virtue of their six-pack, but when I see them, I still call them, say, Mr. Menier. Not those who act like maniacs and douchebags by laying a hand on a very beautiful princess. Instead of making her lips and thighs sweat, you perform your low standard and underestimated acts and make her eyes sweat. As a matter of fact, man, let me tell you, you are weak and whack. Punch me in the face. Let's see if it's gonna make you feel more of a man compared to the bruise and the scars you left on the neck. If I was the judge, I would sentence you twice your life. Let them assassinate you, hang you on the wall and let you rot. Should leave you like Bob from generation. But Bob Marley's legacy will live from generations to generations because it's the true reflection of a real man. Don't be fooled by the traditional and cultural, generally acclimatized theories and ideologies that men are dominant. If it's so, why then current statistics prevail that more and more women are becoming prominent? Isn't that pure and clear evidence that you should embrace and acknowledge their existence? You, moron, go back to your drawing board and conceptualize on the term respect and make an impact and become a real man. Because Honekani, Kwanele, it's enough. Honekani, Kwanele, it's enough. Maybe just one thing that I just forgot to mention in the beginning. I just want people to understand that as much as they see us fighting, it's not because of we just love the title or no, I'm an ambassador and stuff. You see, when you grew up in violence, when you grew up watching your mother crying every day, and you, as a young man, the only aspirations in your life was just to see her smiling. You don't care about any other thing. That is why I decided, you know what, I as a young man, I'm going to fight this courage to the core. Whether it's through my words, whether it's me being in the streets, whether it's storytelling, I just want you guys to say, we're in this thing together and we're going to fight together. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. Is it still afternoon? Is it still morning or is it afternoon? It's still morning. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Masachaba Kumalo, and I am the spokesperson to Minister Nathi Mthethwa. And we welcome you here today to this most august occasion, which marks the official commencement of Human Rights Month. See, government looks to the National Days program, and in this case, Human Rights Month, as a platform to promote social cohesion and national unity. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, our panel discussion will focus on how government and Chapter 9 institutions are enabling access to the right to equality, the right to human dignity, as well as the linguistic and cultural rights as well. And joining me on the platform today are my panelists, the Honorable Minister Nathi Mthethwa, as well as the Honorable Mr. John Jeffrey, the Deputy Minister of Justice and Constitutional Development. And of course, we're joined here as well by social cohesion advocate, Ms. Xoliswa Bam, on the platform. So how this is going to work is that we're going to allow our panelists to each give their opening remarks, and thereafter we will open up the floor for a further engagement. And so, in the interest of time, I'm going to kindly, respectfully ask our panelists here today to keep their opening remarks to 4 to 5 minutes. And then so we can allow for a lot more time for the engagement, and that will follow thereafter. So first up, I would like us to warmly welcome the Honorable Minister, Nathi Mthethwa. Thank you.
So what's the... Am I audible? Yes. Sanbonani. Dumelang. Apshe. Ndaoyandu. Molweni. Thank you very much, Program Director, and my fellow panelists here. On my right, Kwezi Kunene, who's the chairperson of one of our entities, Playhouse, Durban Playhouse, in KwaZulu-Natal. The Deputy Minister, John Jeffries of Justice and Correctional Services. It was constitutional development in the past. Ms. Bam, one of the members of the Social Cohesion Advocates. We really are here today, almost 30 years into democracy. Just to look back, both commemorate and celebrate this day. Commemorate the fact that it is a day which is founded on the blood, sweat and tears of our people. You talk of Sharpeville massacre, you talk of Langa and so on. But the democratic government decided that we need to highlight the need for human rights in this country. Hence the day, Human Rights Day. And we are saying that as South Africa, we've gone a long way. It's not just lip service, human rights. It's enshrined in our constitution. That is why we have supporting structures like the Chapter 9 structures, constitutional bodies which are supporting the human rights in our country. It's quite important. It's not something which is far-fetched. Just think of the couples, Dr. Fabian Ribeiro and wife Florence, gunned down cold-bloodedly, precisely because they were calling for human rights in South Africa. Just think of a couple, the Mklanges, Griffiths, and Ma Victoria, killed brutally for daring to say we should be given human rights as South Africans, our dignity. The United Nations declared apartheid as crime against humanity. So therefore, human rights to us is just but the base. It's not the end. It's the means to the end. The struggle for freedom was not just civil liberties. It was deeper than that. It was about changing fundamentally the lives of our people for better. So we're here today to say those things which still affect us, we have an obligation to fight. As the Acting Director General of the Department, Dr. Khumalo, has said, that we can't talk of human rights without addressing the issue of gender-based violence and femicide. And we, in particular, in the sector we are in, where we deal with creatives and athletes, we find it very important that we pursue deliberately the fight against women abuse. The outfit you saw here, Khulikan, is one of such endeavors by the Department of Sport, Arts and Culture. Theirs is specifically the conversation which they have between boys and men. They are men, they have this conversation on an ongoing basis with boys because we felt we need to concentrate on the boy child. Because if things are not right from there at the beginning, this boy is going to be the menace to society. So that's what they are dealing with. The second aspect of this fight is what we call Bakawafas, where women are the ones who are leading the charge in asserting women's rights, in asserting women in our society. And the third aspect is the aspect of Silapa, which is mostly the psychosocial support, which deal with mental challenges and other areas related to what creatives and athletes do. This as part of ensuring that we don't talk human rights in a vacuum, in abstract, but practically having programs which are dealing with that. So the scope is big because it has to do with economic justice, for instance. We can talk everything. If we have not unpacked and dealt with that area, we wouldn't have gone far. Part of the program and what the focus is today is on Chapter 9 institutions. It's also on languages. As government, and many people don't know this, every year we have about 350, we support financially 350 students to study languages in all major universities in this country, every year. Because we think the issue of language is very important. If we are to change things, we have to assert the language. And that's part of ensuring and deepening the culture of human rights in our country. And as a result, we've moved to where we are today, and we are saying that let's have this frank conversation about our experiences under democracy, and obviously contrasting the democratic dispensation from where we come from, the apartheid period, that how far have we gone? We think that so much has been done. If we look at us and reflecting other countries and see how brazenly human rights are violated by the state in other countries, we see that South Africa has gone a long way. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Minister. And so now we'll move to Ms. Xoliswa Bam for her opening remarks. Over to you, ma'am.
Good morning to everyone. Sanibona, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay. Thank you very much for this platform. I am Xoliswa Bam. As the Minister has indicated, I'm a social cohesion advocate. And as these advocates, we are social activists. And I'm saying that so that you understand my perspectives. I am Deputy President of the Mothers Union in the Johannesburg region. And so we drive this angle of gender-based violence mostly, more than anything else. And I notice even the program, although it speaks to Human Rights Month, but we find that it's difficult for us not to talk about gender-based violence. And this gender-based violence relates to women's rights. And as advocates and everybody else, other activists, we keep saying women's rights are human rights. it's a problem, you know, especially when we look forward to the stats that was released about a week ago. Very discouraging. It discourages us because many of us think that we are doing a lot of work in terms of speaking against gender-based violence. But the impact, with all the resources that the minister is talking about, we too, as the church, we partner with other government departments. We go out to communities to speak about gender-based violence. But at the end of it all, as communities, the solutions lie with us. There's no denying that. Whether there's a problem with the empowerment of women, that we have to deal with. But women had to be empowered. The women of 1956 did not just march not to get results. The goals, the aims of their march was to have women empowered. But if the 50-50, as some would say, maybe there's a problem with this 50-50. We don't know, but women could not have remained in one place. But we commend the struggles that many of us embark upon. We should not get tired. We should not get tired. There's a saying that a nation that does not love or respects its women is doomed to fail. A lot has been said here about gender-based violence. One could say that maybe some of the failures that we're experiencing is because we don't respect one another. And there's no denying it. It starts from our homes. Government can do so much. But if we don't love and respect one another, teach our children to respect the elderly, it's a matter of going back to basics. No matter where or how we have lost it, but it is for us as communities to find solutions to this problem. Because the killings now, one doesn't have to elaborate that angle because it's out in the public sphere, and we have the deputy minister here, constitutional development or whatever, but he has the legal knowledge to be able to analyze the meaning of what the stats tells us. Be that as it may, I would like to encourage everyone. It's good to see a good mix of Abo Baba and mothers coming together as we speak about human rights, but emphasizing the importance of human rights. We know there's many other rights that we see being abused, if one can put it that way. But of paramount importance, women and children have to feel safe within their communities. Women and children don't feel safe in their homes. And we should be asking ourselves, what kind of society are we to become? If as women, we know women are pillars of our homes and society. And I know it's very disappointing because at times when we call some of these meetings as women, like I said, from the Women Mothers Union, and invite Obama. And in fact, women have said themselves, we cannot be discussing this matter without the men themselves. They have to be part and parcel of us. But the response is still not very good. But mine is to say, let's not tire. Let's continue. Sishumayele levangeli. We have to, even if it means repeating ourselves, like the sermons that get repeated one Sunday after Sunday. Kuzoze kulunge. So we appreciate the efforts of the youth who have committed themselves to this drive. Because they too, they say some come from homes where maybe they have experienced this abuse. But I think there's so much that they are exposed to that also promotes this abuse. But it's for us as society and communities to pinpoint what needs to be done. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Baum. And now for the Deputy Minister of Justice and Constitutional Development, Mr. John Jeffrey, your opening remarks, please.
Thanks, Masichaba, and good morning, everybody. I hope you can hear me, everybody. Yeah, okay, good. Let me just speak a bit about the Constitution. The first section of the Constitution has a title called Republic of South Africa. And that basically reads, and I'll just read the beginning of it, the Republic of South Africa is one sovereign democratic state founded on the following values, and then there are 4 values, but the first one is human dignity, the achievement of equality, and the advancements of human rights and freedoms. And what we are doing in this month, March, which is Human Rights Month, because of March 21 being Human Rights Day, and March 21 is Human Rights Day because it's the day of the Sharpeville massacre. Sometimes you get people raising, why is it not Sharpeville Day? But each of our national days take an event and extrapolate it, make it wider. So the start of the youth uprisings on the 16th of June 1976, that's Youth Day. So it's not just the people who died in Soweto, because there were uprisings around the country. And that becomes Youth Month. The March of the Women to the Union Buildings on the 9th of August to protest against passes. It's not the March of those women specifically that's celebrated on August 9th, it's women. And it's extrapolated out to be Women's Month. So March is basically Human Rights Month. I read the first part of the Constitution, and that section of the Constitution can only be amended by a 75% majority. All the rest of the Constitution is 2/3, but those values can only be amended by 75%, 3/4 of Parliament. And as I said, those values are human dignity and equality. And it's because under apartheid and the period before apartheid of colonization, there was no equality. And human dignity of other human beings were undermined. So human dignity and equality are values, but they're also rights. And what we've then got in the Constitution is a whole chapter of the Bill of Rights. I counted about, I think it's 26 sections. There's a number of rights in each section, but the first one is the right to equality. The second one is the right to human dignity. The third, surprisingly, is the right to life. You'd think that would probably be the first, but it was regarded as more important. Equality was regarded as more important. Human dignity, and then the fourth, the right to freedom and security of the person. But in basically promoting human rights, and particularly, the rights of equality and the right of human dignity, it's how we treat people. So Gaddafi, you'd raised in terms of the issue of people with albinism, actually the fourth right, the right to security, not to be attacked because of having albinism. But the issue is actually, no, we need to be going further than that. We need to be saying a person with albinism must be treated with dignity, must be treated equally. So we've got to actually look at treating people. A lot of people would say, I want dignity for myself. But actually, and it's important to have dignity and equality for yourself, but it's also important that other people have that equality and other people are treated with dignity. We've got a lot of groups in South Africa, different people of different races, people of different religions, people of different sexual orientation, people who maybe do work that you don't like people selling sex. It's important that everybody is treated with dignity. That you may not want to do that yourself, but you actually give people the dignity that they deserve as human beings. You may not want to be a Christian, you may not want to be a Muslim, but treat them with dignity. People who have different beliefs, that kind of thing. So I just really wanted to, I think, emphasize those points. Maybe just one last point, and that's on the issue as language was raised. The Constitution was last amended in 2012, which was the 17th Amendment, which made changes, made the Chief Justice the head of the judiciary, the Constitutional Court, the top court, the apex court of the country. We've got another amendment in Parliament, which hopefully we will get the 2/3 majority for, and that is to amend the section on languages to make South African Sign Language the 12th official language. So I'm raising it because the issue of language has been raised here, but I also want to emphasize it's giving dignity to people who are deaf. That their language, the language they communicate in, is being recognized. They might be a minority, they might be a relatively small minority, but it is important that the dignity of people who cannot hear or cannot speak is recognized. Thanks very much, Masachaba.
Thank you very much, Deputy Minister. And now for the opening remarks of Ms. Kwezi Kunene of the Playhouse in KZN. Over to you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. Oh, I don't need to ask if I'm audible. I'd like to greet Honourable Minister and Honourable Deputy Minister, Mampam, and everyone that's present today. As already said, my name is Kwezi Kunene, coming all the way from KZN, representing the two entities, Minister. It's the Playhouse Company and the KZN Museum. So I'm both in the performing arts and in the heritage space. Very key, important, I believe, entities that can speak the message of human rights to the community at large. I think for me, what I'd like to bring an emphasis on, especially that we are talking about Human Rights Day, and we're celebrating that, is that through our institutions, through our DSEC entities, we have various programs that we embark on, especially during this time, where we seek to educate and communicate the message. I believe during this time we have programs which go out to schools, Minister, that go out and preach the message of human rights. All these issues of gender-based violence, if we're not speaking to our children at school levels, we'd find that the conversation will end up at this level. And we'd find that the next generation can never pass on or carry the baton of this hard work that has been plowed, the seeds that have been sown to ensure that people have got, we've got equality, apartheid is abolished. All these ills, social ills that we have, we can never pass on that baton if we're not speaking to the youth. So it's very important that, Minister, I highlight firstly that through our entities, the message be spoken at a more plain language, because our children are consumed with your general social media, and such messages which are key, if not put on such platforms also, we lose the focus, or we lose the ability to be able to bring them up into the conversation. I get very surprised when I hear young children speak messages that have got real power, and you think to yourself that we exclude such people into the table or into the conversation, and yet they have so much to contribute. So for me also, Minister, is just to encourage the work that is being done in terms of spreading the message. This morning I woke up with a word, Minister, and as I was sitting here, I actually realized why I had this word. It said, do not get weary in well-doing, because in due season you shall reap that which you have planted. So the seeds that we are planting today, the seeds that have been planted in the past, is what we are seeing today as being the fruits that are coming from that. And as Mampam was saying, Guguti, do not give up. You may be alone in preaching the message. You may be in the minority, but in due season, you shall reap that which you have sown. So I just would like to leave it there for now. And thank you.
On that note, thank you very much. Thank you very, very much, Ms. Kunene. On that note, I'd like to open up for an engagement. Perhaps we can take 3 inputs from the floor, whether in the form of comments or questions, and thereafter we will allow for closing remarks from the Minister, unless if there are specific questions directed at any one of our specific panelists. So, oh, okay. All right, the Minister is asking for more than 3. All right, so we'll open up the floor.
Each. Five.
Okay.
10.
All right, so we'll take about 10 questions or comments. Whereabout is the roving mic? I see a hand right at the back there. 2 hands, in fact. Yes, we'll start from this section. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. First of all, I think the problem that we are having is that as people, we are not going direct to the problems. We are just going on branches, not to the actual roots. Our main problems that we are having is actually the government. So I'm glad to see ministers that are here. And also our second problem is actually the criminal justice system. And the third problem that we are having is actually the constitution. Another part of the constitution is really great, but the other part of the constitution is the biggest betrayal of black people. We have ministers, I heard ministers talking about other issues, but the problem is that I never heard any minister talking about the issue of land. And we are talking about human dignity. How can we have human dignity while people, they don't have the land? The issue of land is a very important issue and a very sensitive issue. And also, the problem that we are, as students, why we are having a shortage of space in schools, it's actually that the government doesn't have land. The land is privatized. And no one is bothered to talk or hold accountable the government about the issue of land. Because every time when we get the chance and the opportunity to meet with ministers, we are cheering to them, but we are not actually telling them direct that they are actually the biggest problem that we are having. Why are they the biggest problem that we are having? Because they are not going straight on to address the issues that we are facing. Now it's been 29 years since independence, since South Africa gained independence. But the ANC government has failed to address the issue of land. We have majority of black people that are squatting in squatter camp, but we have very few people minority, which are the capitalists, white people, that are owning large vast of land. We have issue of schools, of placement. Government cannot come up with a solution because government doesn't own land. The land is privatized. We are talking the issue of gender-based violence. The problem is still the criminal justice system. So you can do protests, you can march, you can say everything that you like, but actually to deal with the problem, it's the criminal justice system, because the person who commit crime, you go to court, you given bail, he's out. Next time it repeats the other thing, same thing. The Constitution is talking about human dignity and equality. South Africa, it hasn't even achieved equality or human dignity. Because if the majority of the people, they are still without land, there is no human dignity. You can't separate human dignity with land. You can't separate equality with land. You can't separate freedom with land. So I beg to differ with actually the madam that says South Africa has achieved a lot that other African countries haven't achieved. It's actually wrong. South Africans, majority of black people, they don't have land. Where's the land? The government doesn't have the land. Where's the land? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Excuse me, sir. What is your name? Sorry, can you say that louder? Oh, okay, from where?
Black Lawyers Association Student Chapter.
Say that again?
Black Lawyers Association Student Chapter.
Black Lawyers
Lawyers.
Association Student Chapter. All right.
What's the name?
Black Lawyers Association Student Chapter. And you said your name was? All right, wonderful. All right, we're going to take the next comment or question. You gave 5 very, very important inputs. However, I'm going to humbly ask that we each try and keep it to 1 or 2 questions max, and as concise as possible to allow for as much engagement as possible. So can we have the next question, please? All right, yes, ma'am. Please introduce yourself first, your name and where you're from.
Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am Kukulethu Mtshali, also from the Black Lawyers Students Association, and I am also the chairperson of Sports, Arts and Culture in the Youth Sector Parliament of Gauteng. And I raise with the issue of the involvement of the community. It is very important that the minister spoke about the boy child. We have really given the girl child so much empowerment, but the gender-based violence issue is mainly because of the offender, not because of the victim. So it is very important that the government involves us, because you cannot fix our issues without us. So I want to know what the government is planning to do to involve us as the community. Because one thing I do know, as I am part of the Youth Sector Parliament of Gauteng, is that we meet and we talk about our issues, but we are never called when they are planning to bring the solutions. So you cannot give us solutions without us, involve us. So I want to know that in the issue of human rights and in the issue of gender-based violence in our communities, how is the government planning to involve us? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for that beautiful and concise question. Can we have the next question, please?
Good morning, everyone. Am I audible?
You raised.
Can we open the mic, please?
Yeah, it's on.
Okay.
Thank you. I just have...
What is your name?
My name is Matomera Mtata, also from Black Lawyers Association Student Chapter. I'm the secretary of the organization. I just have a question to the Honorable Minister John Jeffrey. What does the minister have to say about the right to equality, especially regarding the right to equality to law? Because I'm going to be very specific at this one. The rate of which the rand is growing in South Africa is very high, and practitioners are increasing their rates, and it's very expensive for us to actually get access to them and attain them. So what does the minister have to say about more pro bono cases being given out to black people who do not have the equality or access to the law as it is enshrined in the Constitution? And furthermore, what does the Minister of Justice has to say, or what do they have to do in regards to us having to speak about the human rights, which is the right to equality first, and you would think that the right to life would come first, but then seeing the life crisis and the value of life in this country lately, it's been very low and the black life is very cheap. What do you guys have to do in conjunction with working with SAPS on making sure that the right to life is protected and enshrined as it is supposed to be in the Constitution, and we don't lose lives daily in South Africa as we see on social media? Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, the next question, please remember to introduce yourself, your name and where you're from.
Good morning to the House at Large. My name is Nomza Mumpopoma. I'm also from the Black Lawyers Student Association, student chapter, sorry. I have two questions. They both go to the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture. My first question is, what is the department doing in ensuring that no child or human being, especially in the township, is left behind? Currently, there is no sports in township schools. What is the department doing in ensuring or preparing that at least for us to be able to decrease the number of people who use drugs, at least the kids and the children get to do something in the communities? My second question is, what is the department doing in preparation, since that Banyana is going to play the FIFA World Cup later this year, and also there will also be a netball World Cup. But we are not seeing anything about these World Cups. There's no presentation or anything. There's no billboards or anything being said about these occasions. So what is the department willing to do about that? Thank you.
Thank you. All right, thank you very much for that question.
Good morning. My name is Kotliff Lambani. I'm from Black Lawyers Association Student Chapter. My first question is to all the panelists is that, are we in line with reality, or are we just covered by this beautiful idea that is given by the Constitution? Is there really equality in South Africa, or equality is only catered for certain people? Because if we tend to check, when we came here, we passed the squatter camp there, and the question is, what kind of a culture are those people going to practice? Because they're infested by poverty, crime, and everything. And how do we say we are equal while our white counterparts are calling us monkeys behind closed doors? And we take the same constitution and impose it on them to give us equality. Are we really equal, and are we really dignified? Because you are not addressing burning issues here. We have issues of land. Section 25, you are not touching it. You are touching the issues of language, which is important, we understand, but how are we going to practice our culture or be comfortable with our language while we are crammed in squatter camp where we don't have water, electricity, and constant load shedding? Are we in line with reality, or are we just embracing this beautiful constitution that is not doing anything for us? We are graduates, we are unemployed, we are, one thing to Minister of Justice, if you can go to your courts and check the level of inequality in your courts, check most people who are in criminal courts, who are in trial, what kind of people are they, and what's the color of their skin, and go to the civil courts and check what's the color of the skin of those people. I thank you.
Thank you. All right, for the next question, the gentleman with the microphone, please stand up. You're up. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Karabo Musetli from the West Rand. I'm from an organization called Choco 5 Movement, and I serve as the executive chairman of the board. Honorable Minister and Honorable Deputy Minister, and the Social Cohesion Convention. We are working at a very slow pace. When I say we, I mean government and Chapter 9 institutions, together with civil organizations. Honorable Minister, you would agree with me, in 2019 we sat in the very same region where we were speaking of social cohesion convention, and part of our resolution in the social cohesion convention, we had agreed that the only way we will have human rights is to make sure that our communities are being included, and included with programs that are sustainable. We agreed that the Gauteng Provincial Archives, to be, just for an example, the repositories are empty because of the history of South Africans was set by the people who committed the crime. The person who knows the true story of the Sharpeville massacre is the old lady who was looking through the window, who knows and understands everything. When we're speaking of sustainable program, we're saying let's go back to those communities and find out the true stories of what really happened so that we can have a sustainable comfort. We are delaying our communities. We met with the Honorable Minister in 2019 and 2020 we were under a hard lockdown. 2021 we did not meet. And last year we met. And when we met with the Deputy Minister, John Jeffrey. And out of that, we even made it aware that the rate at which we are working is very slow. It was at the time where we were securing the rights under this Constitution, Act 108 of 1996, the Chapter 2, which is the Bill of Rights, Section 10, that speaks of the human dignity, and number 11, that speaks of the right to life. What our discussion with the Deputy Minister was specifically on the rate of the illegal mining at that time. And I must say to the House, 20 to 30 days afterwards, that's when the outbreak of two people, or a group of people losing their lives in Krugersdorp, after we had made it aware and made it a deepest request to the Deputy Minister that can we have an interference from his office. I remember when it happened, just to share the story. When it happened, I sent personally a WhatsApp message to the Deputy Minister, and I said to him, you know, the matter that we discussed when we had our city is getting out of hand. And the response from the Deputy Minister said to me, let me contact the police. And immediately I said to him, the police in this instance, they are not coping, they're not doing enough. You know, the mining problem or the mining dump problem has been an issue throughout, and they know it and they're not doing anything. So the point I'm driving here is the rate at which we want to implement the solutions that we have in these gatherings. I mean, these gatherings are no longer interesting anymore. We sit here, we're speaking of the people in the township when the people in the townships, they are not here. And the government will tell us that we have programs that we bring to communities, but those programs are not sustainable. I said I was the one who was presenting the resolutions of our commission. And we said the only way that we will have a successful human rights, or the only way we will have a social cohesive country, it's only if we can make sure that we prioritize sports, arts, culture, and recreation. To a degree that even you can make, I know South Africa is not America, but America makes sure that they have invested so much in sports, arts, and culture to a point that even when they play among themselves, they call it a world championship, as if they're the whole world. It's because of they understand this, the importance and the strength that the economy takes. Yes, we can count the achievements that we had from 1994 up until now, the sporting codes that have been there. But right now, we don't need those kind of sporting codes. Yes, they are there, but it's time for development. We need to convert the existing sports, arts, culture, and recreation facilities into high-performance centers. High-performance centers, you would just refer to the one in Pretoria. Ever since the University of Pretoria have built the high-performance center, or what makes South African sporting codes to be what it is today, it is as a result of that Pretoria high-performance center. But it can never be right that we rely on one high-performance center when we have 9 provinces, or when we have 5 regions only in Gauteng. We can only have a successful human rights if we make sure that we also align with the mandates of the provinces. Currently in Gauteng, we speak of the Gauteng Township economic development or economic revitalization. But right now, it becomes also difficult for us to execute it when you speak of human rights. The Premier speaks of reclamation of the spaza shops. Reclamation of the spaza shops speaks that when you look at the landscape, the people that are already securing that business landscape is the Somalians and the Pakistanis. And as a country, we have an obligation to accept the refugees in our country. But because we don't have sustainable programs to keep them away to participate in the economy, they end up finding themselves in that space. I mean, it's not a secret that even when you just go here in Marabastan, you find people that waiting for their status to be adjudicated by the Immigration Reception Office, where they will have to wait for 3 years. So what is going to happen here in Gauteng when we want to reclaim the spaza shop, having to consider the fact that we have social cohesion that we need to take into consideration? Let us work together with civil society, and let us not write these resolutions just to fill these notebooks. I thank you.
Thank you very much. So we are going to take about 3 more.
Minister said 4.
No, 4.
4 more questions. We're going to take about 4 more questions. Every single input you had to make was absolutely valuable and really, really valid. We are going to ask the next few speakers to be as concise as possible in the interest, firstly, of having your particular matter addressed. So I know there's so much to talk about, but if we can also give other children a chance, please. Thank you. Yes, please go right ahead.
Thank you, Osmas Chaba. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Nari Choshi. I come from Lesedi Labacha after school program and Mohali City Teda. I come from Swaneville in Mohali City. We have about 4 relatively new informal settlements there. Some of them have existed for more than 2 years now, but to this day, our people still don't have access to clean water. We don't have access to proper toilets even. So, okay, this is great. You know, it gives us a platform to engage and to discuss. It gives us a voice. But I'm going to ask Minister, can you please go back to the ground and address the very basics? This steps over our rights to human dignity and worth. You know, we are trying as youth, there's young people that are trying to start backyard gardens, commercial farming in the farms, but there is no water. That is like it's an obstacle to trying every day. So it's also like what do we call it? It also steps and overlooks the right to life, because water is the source of life. So what I'm asking basically, can we just go back to the ground and see how the people are living? Like the very basics. It's very sad out there, and we are trying. Our people are trying. It's just very difficult because our very basic needs are not met. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Can we have the next question, please?
Hello. Dumelang le kae? Yeah. Kalibitso ke Mr. Lamecting Umuzindlovu. Ke tswa le nna ko Mohali City, Manziville, the West Rand. I'm a 35-year-old recovering drug addict and a former general Yama 26 prison gang. I grew up in prison, ke ne ke latlhegile, did not know dutsene ke di etsa. But I do believe my story is a familiar one. My story is one that some of us we know it, some we've heard about it, some we have read about it. I do believe through my story of transformation and fully rehabilitating and becoming a man of God, a boy, girl, child who's still confused and trying to experiment could take me and use me as a tool. I've tried to knock on so many doors with no success. I've been blessed to meet these 2 wonderful ladies, but they've supported me. If it was not for them, I wonder what could have happened to me. Maybe I could have went back and slept under the bridge again. Maybe I could have been in prison again. I'm availing myself to the country and saying, give me a chance to speak. Give me a chance for my book to be read, so that another child who's deciding to become a gangster or to become a criminal or even to start smoking nyaupe will say Ndato Ole has changed his life. That means I can still become a better person. I'm standing here today at the corridors of time with the pen of my destiny at my hands. I'm opening my soul and my tears and my pains, and I'm telling, look at me and beware. Kemi Mona kere, I'm looking for a chance to help the nation. I do not belong to any organization. I am not owned by any person. I'm a free man of God. And Gerlen, I'm asking only for a chance to help those who are lost.
Thank you. That's very inspiring. Thank you so much. So 2 more questions. The second last question. Yes, ma'am. Please introduce yourself.
Sanwanan Molwen. We are told that at least as a country, as much as we are facing problems, we must celebrate. What are we celebrating? As a country, Mamustela, we've got nothing to celebrate. When our problems begin with our very leaders that are leading us into dismay. Mr. Jefferson, we spoke with you in explicit. We laid out the calamities that Krugersdorp, specifically West Village, is experiencing. 4 months down the line, the Krugersdorp rape case happened. Those women today still do not have justice. Your office has turned a blind eye, and they want us to remain oblivious and to say that, no, it is okay. There is equity. What equity is there, Mr. Jefferson, when criminals are walking scot-free? What human rights are we celebrating, Mr. Honorable Minister, when your office has taken away our rights as humans? In the country, we've got no rights because we are led by people in positions that are operating out of their Ubuntu. They don't know who they are, and they impose that on us. And it hurts. I stand as a black woman who is disgusted by the government that is leading us. Under your watch, you talk about human rights, but we still have places like Orania who explicitly tell us who we are. It is disgusting that you are giving them the evidence to look down on us and to degrade us as black people. We are more than a people. We are let me not say it because I would be labeled racist, but we are more than a people as black people. We are saying it's enough for you to do these conferences just to tick a box that I had spoken to them. You don't go to the grassroots where the gist of the matter is for you to see the equity that you speak about, the right to life. We don't have a life. Because we are faced as women, we are scared to even step out because we know when we step out, we are facing gang rapes, we are facing to be killed, we are facing to be ridiculed. Our men are afraid to step out because your office had focused on empowering women. Women are not killed because they are less empowered. Women are not murdered or raped because they don't exist. Stop creating a platform for us to compete. We need to have a platform whereby masculine and feminine in harmony comes together. There is no one higher than the other. As a people in the country, we are saying enough. Please take this message to your office and to the president. Can you all step down? It is enough that you are ruining, you are decaying and
Thank
destroying.
you. You haven't given us your name. What is your name?
I am Nicoline Drom. I am the chief activist of Vukuzenzele Moagisane Network. We are based in Mogale City.
Uzenzele, say your name again?
Nicoline Drom.
Nicoline Drom. Yeah. All right. Thank you, Nicoline. All right. Can we please take the last question? Please remember to introduce yourself and then get into your question, please.
Good morning. I'm Nomvuyo Sbetlele from Mogale City.
Sorry, say your name again?
Nomvuyo Sbetlele from Mogale City. from Swaneville in Mogale City. I'm representing Mogale Tida, and again, I'm having a title of heading the women in business from Mogale Tida. I'm referring to Mam Bam, as we were saying, women need to be empowered. These platforms, we get them in such places. Can you please, our government, go down to the townships, whereby those women need to be empowered. Those women that need that empowerment, they are not here, they know nothing about that empowerment. Can you please go down to where we are staying, guys? Because right now I'm talking about this gender-based violence. Women are so abused on a daily basis, whereby you don't even know what to do. Because themselves, they don't know what to do. Because they just think that's their lifestyle they must live. But today we are talking about human rights. They didn't even know their rights. Can please, those people that have powers to empower those women, go down to townships. We are tired of being invited in such events, whereby the most women that need empowerment, those women that are facing abuse on a daily basis, don't get the chance to come here because you can't even bring them here because of limited numbers. It's been asked. So we are begging you. Really, we need your support to empower those women because I'm one of the women that I'm always invited on the month of August, whereby we have to go empower women. But we never see those people at higher places to come there and volunteer to come and help those women. It's only that particular month that you will see somebody from those departments coming saying, let's empower women. Can that be done on a daily basis? We need you. Can our government come down to us and help us because of those women? They don't even know even if they are abused. I don't even want to elaborate on that. I will just stop here and say, can you please, Mampam, we need women like you to come and empower our mothers, our sisters, our core women. We are dying on every day. Please, I will stop there. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Nomvula. We appreciate your inputs and thank you to every single person here who inputted. So it seems that the questions are largely targeted towards Deputy Minister or towards Minister. But before that, the last one? Yeah. There's one more. Minister would like to get one more question, please. Go right ahead. Your name, please?
Dumelang. My name is Mamusiwa Mutau. I'm from Blask, Black Lawyers Association.
Sorry, say that again, please.
Blask.
Your name again and then from where?
I'm from Black Lawyers Association.
Okay, and your name?
My question is...
What did you say your name was?
Mamusiwa Mutau.
Mamusiwa Mutau.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Ms. Kwezi, my question to you is, how are you ensuring that the kids in primary schools understand or get the constitutional book? Because if we can go to a grade 4 or a grade 5 and ask them, Nana, do you know what's your right? Like a right to shelter. Like how sure are you that these kids are receiving these books? Because I feel like that's where it starts. I can't start at varsity understanding the constitutional book and then whereby in primary it's not applicable or we're never given. Because LO, life orientation, is not enough. The information in life orientation is not enough. It doesn't even cover the importance of this book. It doesn't. And then to the minister, I want you to just know that kids, collegationing, they're talented. Sports-wise, arts and culture, they're talented. I'm from the East Rand, and we have there's a place called Art Center. It's destroyed if you can look at it. Minister, I feel like one day, just take an Uber and go to collegationing. Just take an Uber. No one will recognize you. Just take an Uber or anything. Drive yourself. Use a Kia Picanto. No one would recognize you. And just drive. Don't go out of your car. Just drive and observe. Please. There's talent, qualificationing. These kids are talented. Not everybody is good at maths. Why Husna a rugby field qualificationing? There isn't. Why? Why must I take my child to Germiston High in order to go get sports or something like that? It's soccer in qualificationing. It's not enough soccer. Every boy is playing soccer. Why? How na cricket qualificationing high hobaneng? Hockey. There isn't hockey. Why? Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, thank you so much. And I know that there are probably many more questions or comments, but we do have to, at some point, close the engagement session. I think that the minister has been extremely generous with the time to allow for engagement, because that's what this day is about. So I will now hand over to our panelists, and just Ms. Bam and Ms. Kudene, any inputs before I hand over to the Deputy Minister and the Minister?
Okay. Thank you very much. I think I'll start with the question that has been directed to myself. What we're currently doing in terms of bringing the communication of the book, as you put it, is that through the arts, we ask producers or directors to put together productions that we then stage. We have something called it's a van, it's a huge truck where we've converted into a stage. It's a mobile truck, actually. That's a mobile stage that we take to schools. So what we do is we take it not only to the schools that are in the city, so to say, we go deep into the rural areas where through the medium of the arts, through a performance, a live performance, the children get to understand the message that is being portrayed by the artists. So the message could be issues of gender-based violence, could be issues that are about our Bill of Rights, the right to education. Hence I said, when you speak to children or when you speak to people in the medium of the arts, you speak to their hearts, rather than having to read a book. They are consumed on a daily basis on reading the work that they do and having to cram and understand that. But when you bring the arts into the schools, you are able to make sure that you speak to the children's hearts and they can be able to relate, reflect, and it stays into their soul. And they're able to live through that. And another point that I wanted to just mention is that when we are liberated, or when you are being told that you are now free, I see sometimes, Minister, where we get decapitated, where we lose the sense of ownership, because we need to then say, we have been told, we have been liberated, there are policies, acts that are in place, but we as the community need to take that up. The issues of having playgrounds, halls that are vacant, vandalized, they're not being vandalized by people from outside, they're being vandalized by us, living in the communities. So when we neglect and we let adversity, don't leave power lying around, because somebody else will come in and pick it up. So when we leave such key facilities to be vandalized, our power is then lost. All that we are talking about the seeds that have been planted, it then iba imbewu ebunayo. I don't know if I can translate that. It becomes a seed that becomes corrupted, and it doesn't produce the fruits that we are needing to receive from it. So I think I'm just trying to express that we need to also, I know there are many initiatives, there are many programs in communities that are being done, but let us not be weary in well-doing, because in due time we shall reap that which we have planted. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, over to you, Ms. Bam.
Okay. Thank you very much. Ma'am, you touched on a subject that I thought I would also touch upon, the question of...
Can we switch on her mic, please?
Where's-
Thank you.
where is it?
It's there, but it's...
But is it... Just check it. Yeah, the question of recreational facilities, because that could go a long way in addressing some of the challenges that the youth experience. But then you brought the angle of some communities have these facilities and they are not well looked after. But once again, let's not get tired of trying, Minister, because the question of recreational facilities comes up all the time. I suppose some of these communities have nothing. And so it's something that needs to be looked into. In fact, at some point we thought maybe the Department of Education needs to get involved, promoting sports in a big way. Because really and truly to see young people doing nothing after school, that is just asking for trouble. Be that as it may, again, it comes back to us. The question of Ubuntu. Yes, all is not well, and maybe some of the challenges, yes, we had our challenges and problems even before COVID, but we know that COVID and many other things have complicated our situation as a country and global. But then going back to basics as communities, like Ubutilo, you know, was saying, he's trying to say, let's go back to basics like Ubuntu, practice Ubuntu. And those of us maybe who think, at least I've made it, I've benefited something from this government, because we cannot say everyone has not benefited. Many have benefited, but let's take it upon ourselves, especially as leadership. I think the International Women's theme, one of the years, spoke to that as women, but even as men, take somebody with you as you go up. Because it's just within the community that he has been saved, that he has managed to get some assistance. And there are many who are like him, but some people don't have to shout and say what they're doing. But many more of us have to do that, reach out, be the volunteers that we should be within our communities, because we know we will go to the minister and ask for resources to do this and that, and many a times we find that there's no budget. And in many a times we have to do things on our own. Go out there and be something to your community. By helping one or two persons within your community, you are making a difference. By making somebody happy, your blessings, you won't see them today. So in our desperation, let's reach out to each other. Because 1994 did bring something for others. And those others must play their role within their communities. Go back, and some call it plow back. In your small community, I'm sure people will admire the little that you do and raise their hopes. Because the worst thing is where we find everyone is so desperate and hopeless. We have to light that lamp. Bonilu Diditi, she was talking about the lamp that is supposed to keep our hopes alive. Especially on this day when we come to such a place, we are coming here to revive as we remember where we come from. In a way, we are also saying, let's be hopeful. We have been in a worse situation. Esontweni ke thina sithi nale izawudlula. We know it's not izawudlula, but let's apply ourselves. We are not the only ones in this situation. Like I'm saying, we know very well the challenges that we're facing are worldwide. But at the same time, we have to continue doing something for ourselves. If you can multiply the Abasisi by 2 who have assisted this brother, and just multiply them by 20, how many people would have been assisted? I don't say that there's many challenges. Oh, no, Nicole knows we've been to your community. We tried, and I'm saying we are not giving up. We are hopeful. Fortunately, there's this platform, because it's better than no platform at all, where you can voice your concerns. We are all looking to see what is going to be happening eventually to that Krugersdorp situation, because it needs to be resolved. I know whatever is needed to make a difference to that community. Because you think that it's only affecting you. I mean, from a distance.
All right, Nicolene, we've given you an opportunity to speak. Let's let her finish with respect, please. Yes.
From a distance.
No, sorry, excuse me, sir.
Please. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, because when I saw you, I remembered the journey we have traveled with you as social cohesion advocates, going into that community, especially that after the rape of the 8 women, but we had been there before. And Deputy Minister was at the conference where you told everyone about the situation. But unfortunately, things just got worse. But fortunately, here he is again. I'm sure he's listening to you, like the minister is listening to all of us about the concerns that we are raising. But we are saying as communities, we are trying, but as the youth and women are crying out for assistance, let there be something that they will see, that our government is a government that listens. Because I know when you go to the Imbizos, like all of us speaking on behalf of government, we make all these promises with the hope that something will happen. And some of us are hopeful that something will happen. Something has to happen. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Bam. Thank you for that. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, Bafethu, I'm going to ask us to really just be respectful, hey? We're talking about basic human rights. You didn't see anyone on this platform whispering to each other, talking, while you guys were putting across your inputs. And we're kindly requesting the same level of attention, please. Deputy Minister, over to you. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Yeah, I am audible. And thanks very much to everybody for all the questions. A lot of them were tough questions, but thank you for asking them. And maybe a special welcome to, or thanks to, I'm very pleased to see such a large delegation from Black Lawyers Association student chapter. I don't know if you're all from the same campus or from different campuses. I noticed that you're spread across the hall, so yeah, but anyway, it's good that you came, and it's good to engage with you. Thanks. There's a number of issues that have been raised. Maybe let me just start by saying, yes, the Constitution is aspirational, but it does set out what is allowed, what isn't allowed. So yes, we may not have equality in South Africa. How can we have equality when prosperity has a white face and poverty has a black face. But laws can't be passed and there can't be conduct because of the Constitution that actually provide for inequality, or actions that provide for inequality. So if there's discrimination, it can be dealt with by the law, by the courts. The issue was raised earlier of issues of racism. This morning, the Portfolio Committee of Justice and Correctional Services passed the Hate Crimes, Hate Speech Bill, which is a way of then dealing. It's not going to solve problems of racism and discrimination, but it will provide a stick for the state in terms of dealing with that. But the issue was raised by, I can't remember who raised what, but I think it was quite early on, the issue of the land. Why are we changing the language clause but not section 25, the property clause? Well, as you'd know, there's a debate around whether that needs to be done or not. And one of the advocates of saying, no, it doesn't need to be done is Tembeka Ngcukaitobi, who doesn't feel that Section 25 needs to be changed. And there was an attempt in Parliament to do it, but that didn't get anywhere. There has been land that has been redistributed. There hasn't been great success with many of those redistributions in terms of those communities that got land becoming viable. There's more work being done. There's an expropriation bill currently in Parliament to look at trying to redistribute land quicker. But I think the key point, and it was Ms. Bum that raised it particularly, is that we've got a lot of problems in our country. Those problems are not going to be solved by government alone. They require government and the people to be working together. So let's take an issue of gender-based violence. Is it government that is raping and beating up women? No, it's not. Is it aliens from our neighboring states or from other countries that are doing that? Generally, no, it's not. It's people within our own community. So we've got to actually, I think, be looking at what can we do rather than trying to allocate who to blame. Should it be government? No, government wants to blame a particular community. Let's look at what we can do to address those problems. On GBV, from government side, we are trying to make things easier for survivors of sexual offences, of rape, to be able to testify without secondary victimization. We are trying to make it easier for people to get protection orders against their partners, their ex-partners, and so on. We've got to also look at, why is GBV in South Africa so bad? We're worse than our neighbors. It's lower in neighboring countries. We're worse than the rest of the continent. Why? Those are the broader questions that we've got to look at. On the issue of Krugersdorp and the Krugersdorp rapes, it is something that I'm very concerned about. I am in contact with the women who are not from Krugersdorp but from other places. Had a recent meeting with them and the Deputy Minister of Police. And the problem is the issue of evidence. That people were arrested, DNA tests were done on those people, but that DNA didn't match with the semen and so on. It's likely that the people who were responsible for the rapes disappeared as soon as possible, but we are still confident that they will pop up and we will get them. But it's a longer process, and the issue is the issue of evidence. Getting evidence to identify suspects. We have their DNA though. The issue that somebody raised around the question of access to justice. Yes, unfortunately in South Africa, if you're rich, you can pay for private hospitals If you're poor, you've got to go to state hospitals. It's better than it was before when there wasn't that access to hospitals for most of the people, but there's still a different system for the rich and the poor, and the same would apply to law. It was put into the Legal Practice Act that the Law Reform Commission needed to look at an investigation into the cost of legal services. They've done their report, they've made a number of recommendations that we're going to be implementing. We have already provided some systems, so for example, the small claims courts, where you don't need lawyers. You can bring your case, your claim, a civil matter, on your own. So that's one of the issues. There is the issue of legal aid, which does also does provide representation for everybody in criminal matters and also in some civil matters. So there are things that we're doing, but it's government's constantly a struggle about trying to get things done and trying to improve things. The issue of Orania was raised. I mean, look, remember, Orania is a private property. They bought up the land that was for sale, they bought it up and they then made it into the settlement, which is not a municipality, it's part of another municipality. I don't think they even have a ward councillor, they're so small. That's just that situation, but it is a problem of people setting up gated communities which are racially exclusive. Which is what has been done there. I think I don't want to go on for too long, but I think the main issue for me is let's identify the problems, let's work together at solving those problems. Government on its own is not going to be able to solve them. It needs to be getting support and involvement from the community. The gentleman who gave a bit of his life history about the problems that he'd had, it's very encouraging to see how you've picked yourself up, and I want to applaud you for that, and to urge you to be an example, or to others to look at that example. Fate is not kind to us. Sometimes fate gives us a very bad hand. But the issue is what we do with the circumstances we're in, and you've managed to take that hand that fate dealt you and pull yourself up. And we need to encourage other people to do the same, but also to support them, to support people, because not everybody is of the same strength or mental fortitude. But really the issue for me would be encouraging working together. To BLASC, if you want me to come and engage with you specifically, this was a more general discussion, I'm very happy to do that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy Minister. And now to hand over to Minister Nathi Mthethwa.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Program Director Masichaba. Perhaps firstly, I would want to hear a round of applause for each and every person who asked a question today. I'm saying that, Chair, because these platforms are not about discussing abstract issues. They have to deal with real issues people are faced with. And this is what we've been confronted with today. And it says to us, we are able, as we meet as government, to say, yes, we've gone this far, but there are these very practical problems and challenges people are faced with, and be able to name them by their name. See, for instance, Gugulethu Mtshali raises an issue about the involvement of the communities. No, we don't call these meetings here only. We are in the communities. If you heard what Mam Pam said to Nicolene, it's just an example that we go out to communities, we engage with communities. The people you see here, we recruit from the communities. But I would not lie and say it's enough. In some communities, you have to go back again and again because of the nature of the issues those communities are dealing with. So, yes, Kukuletu, we need more hands. If you say you are availing yourself, I've said some of the programs which just one department has, which is Sport, Arts and Culture, and there are many other departments. We would be very much, you know, when people like Gaddafi said, we want to come in, work with government, help government to fight the scourge against GBVF. Government never says no, because it's not government who's going to be leading the campaign. It's people in the communities who understand their communities where they come from. So even now, people are welcome to join hands with us. Nomzamo, we are touching a very important point of Banyana. You spoke about Banyana Netball World Cup. We are trying to go to communities, perhaps, and we have said it's not enough to highlight the showpiece which is going to be hosted by South Africa. Everywhere where we go with Letsatsi, and we're trying to reproduce paraphernalia. And even today, she's here with us to say that if you can come to the fore, Letsatsi, to say that we are on the ground in communities trying to raise the level of importance of netball. Not only netball, because it's women. Just this week we were having ICC cricket women's team, which went up to the final of the World Cup in cricket. Thanks, Letsatsi. Thank you. But we are not looking at netball, at women in cricket, at women in rugby, Banyana, and so on. We are looking beyond just this, the tournaments themselves. As government, we have mooted, as the department, we have mooted and we are engaging with the entirety of government, the policy on women in sport. And this policy is about equalizing and leveling the playing field. Part of the challenge which netball South Africa is facing today, as opposed to Bafana, for instance, is the fact that private companies have come to the fore to support Bafana, as an example. When it comes to women's sport, we've seen that in drips and drabs, but at least it's starting. For Banyana to be sustained, we said that we must do something as government, as the department, to help football to start a league of the women's league of football. And that's where you see most of the players who are playing in Banyana are drawn from, because that's a sustainable way into the future, as it is happening in Bafana. Bafana would never survive if there's no league. So women didn't have a league. They have a league now. We are starting to see sponsors coming. What's this bets? Hollywood Bet, yeah, for instance, have come to the fore and said, no, we'll support women football and so on. But we continue with that. In sport, the biggest problem, and some of you have raised here, has to do with the facilities, has to do with some of those who are around here who grew up in schools playing all sorts of sport, things are no longer at that level now. Many of the players for national clubs were drawn from schools. But we still have a program with the Department of Basic Education. We have a memorandum of understanding because we are saying to our colleagues at DBE, it is important and it has been proven over a period of time that those who are involved in sport, kids who are involved in sport, do better even academically. And we want that assistance. But you would know that basic education has its own priorities. And for us, the priority is sport. And it doesn't all the time correspond like that. That is why we said, in addition, we need to have partnerships outside of DBE and target youth after school. And that program we started with TUT in about, 4 provinces, Mpumalanga, Limpopo, Gauteng. Yeah, it's 4 of them. And we went back and took all those masters, those who brought us CAF Cup here in 1996, the class of 96, for instance, and many others, in different sporting codes. We've brought them as ambassadors for sport to work with communities now, not in schools, but in the townships and in communities. Just yesterday, they were in Mpumalanga. They were in Mpumalanga, others in boxing. As you know, most of the class of 96 are part of this program. Those in boxing like Niga Kumalo, and Niga Kumalo was part of the program yesterday because we realize that depending on the memorandum of understanding we have with basic education, will not get down to the ground where people are. That's why you'll see many young people loitering around, not doing anything. But we are intensifying that program, and it is going well with TU2. We'll be having this in all other provinces, twinning with different provinces to ensure that people and youth are active. We have, over a period of time, noticed that sport grounds are not built, whether it's cricket in the township or football or rugby, are not built. But we, as the Department of Sport, Arts and Culture, every year we transfer funds to the provinces and districts. Because constitutionally, the responsibility of building facilities rests with local government. And I think this we must know. I hear sometimes people say, this Masterpiece Moripe Stadium, Minister, what are you doing? Masterpiece Moripe Stadium is in Tshwane, and Tshwane is a metro. Metro have a grant they get from the Department of Human Settlement. And that grant is there to build facilities like stadia. So what we have done with what we are transferring to provinces, because what they would do, they would use money for everything but sport, arts, and culture. So we have imposed, together with the cooperative governance, and ring-fence that money, that money should go to where it's supposed to. Tomorrow would be in this, would be in Randburg, actually, Matlapaneng, and
Randfontein.
Randfontein, Randburg in Joburg, in Randfontein, in Matlapaneng. And there would be in a school where we'll be giving these facilities. We have been doing that over a period of time. And we'll continue as much as we direct money which comes from government. Because in most cases, we have not done enough monitoring. But now we are doing that and we see things starting to change. Now, the social convention, it's true that it met and so on. the social convention, the social cohesion advocate here, Mapam, would report from time to time. They meet with communities because social cohesion doesn't happen in Freedom Park. It happens in Soweto, it will happen in the township, in Langa, in KwaMashu, and everywhere. And this is what we emphasize from the social cohesion advocates. Now, the issue about water, yes, we are talking about human rights. Water becomes this very fundamental human right resource. And again, it's part of us as government. We can't say here we are representing ourselves and our departments. We represent government as a whole, and we understand that water in South Africa is a scarce resource. I think that the sooner we understand it, the better. But we still have a responsibility as government to ensure that people get this resource as much as we have responsibility in other areas. I think other matters have been dealt with by Deputy Minister here. I want to say to my brother here, he's gone out. Has he left? Undlovu, that we heard what he says, what he's saying here. As part of our program for social cohesion, when we look at the advocates, as we have advocates, Mampam is one of them, we look at people with tangible experience who are going to add value as we engage with communities. So if it happens that he comes back when we are no longer here, you just have to tell him that we heard him, and personally I will have a conversation with him, because the task of ensuring a socially coherent nation is much bigger than government, much bigger than civil society combined, much bigger than everybody. And therefore, it becomes important for us who have taken it upon ourselves that when we see people who genuinely want to contribute in making this country better, we take on those people and we work with them. Before we could even come up with the program of Khulikani, Majans Motar and Gaddafi and others in the arts sector and so on, and one of our key advocates was the late Patrick Shai. And those people who would say, we are here, want to contribute for our nation, who do not understand that the problems have to be solved by government, who say, I can contribute. I saw value in what he was saying, Acting DG. I saw value in what he was saying. I saw something which needs to be shared with society as we move forward to try and deal with the challenges facing society, because the areas he's touching on are areas about human rights. They are about human rights. He's not saying, no, what the government can do for me. He is saying, he is saying that I have this particular experience. I have this particular dark past. I am here now. Use me. We will use you, Chief. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. By the way, Mr. Ndlovu, the minister was talking to you. No problem, no problem. So you raised your hand, and he saw your hand, and that's why he's saying we will use you. Your story is very inspiring, and thank you for motivating us. And thank you very much to our minister. Thank you to our panelists here, Ms. Bam, Ms. Kunene. Thank you, Deputy Minister Jeffrey. And thanks to all of our panelists as well, our extended panelists. We're going to call upon our DDG for Corporate Services, but before we do, I'd like to request our cultural group who prepared a wonderful piece for us to please come through, and then we'll get closing remarks from DDG Chikwatamba.
I think we must. Are they not coming? They must come here. They must come here.
They must come here. No.
Oh.
Ke kwa midumo, ke kwa mishito, ke bonang. Ke kwena, ke metsi, ke rwele tsebe tse nne. Ke ba kwele ka ba kwishisha. Fela ke letsopa la ho loka. Ke bolela le ba magodimo, ke bolela le ba tlase. Ke bolela le ba ditoro le bona ba dipono. Ke kwena ya madiba. Ke tsebega lefatshe ka moka. Dithaba le dithabana di a nkwa mehlare ya ntseba le dinonyana di a mpaka. Ke mamidu ke mametsi. Ke lalla mo tse di nwago ke ja mo tse di phelago. Ke mamidu ke mametsi ke kwena ke rwele tsebe tse nne. Mogaetsho o tshele o lebelela. Oh ha! Questions. It's been years how the world has changed. Our voices sound the same, we still look the same. But what about our inner beings? What about our spiritual growth? We are young, beautiful, intelligent, talented, and gifted. But the road to righteousness, the road to success is a very rocky journey with stumbling stones. Misunderstanding, miscommunication that leads to confrontation, confession, conflict, and competitions, which leaves some of us feeling empty, betrayed, bitter, and plain used. We gain new friends along the way. Some are lost in the clouds while others get swallowed by life. Who are they? Where are they? Will they ever reach a place of total contentment? Will they ever be satisfied with who they are, what they becoming in an hour's time, a minute, a second, a friction? A brilliant man once said that life is really worth living. Why be here and not live? Why not be adventurous? Why not challenge it live? What's the fun of being born and not really live? For life is a short period of blood through our veins. To live it with courage, with nobility, humanity, integrity, dignity, with respect and love. And make things happen despite the odds. We can't choose what life gives us, but we can choose the attitude. We can choose the attitude to face whatever it brings to our doorsteps. This life has been good to me. I have most every little tiny big thing that I need, but greedy me, greedy you, I still want more. Question: what will I find when I look within? What will I do when everyone, all of you has left and I'm alone? Alone where nobody knows, nobody can make it out here. There alone. Will I follow in the tragedy of many? Will I find the strength of very few people? Can I accept change within me, within you, within the world? Or will I just continue to fight and resist change? question is, who am I? Where do I come from? What am I doing here? What is my purpose in life? What is God's purpose for my life? And who can change me for the love of life itself? Who can change me for the love of art? Can persecution do it? Or hunger, poverty, persecution? Who are you? Who are you? I'm a black woman. But again, the question is, am I black first or am I a woman first? I am a woman. Musadi. Mme. Obiri. I'm a daughter. A mother. I'm a sister. Ke kgosigadi. I am you, woman. You are me. As I sit with the pen in my right hand, I start to think of my being. And going around circles of depression, of disappointment, of disconnection from self, hiding in the walls of secrecies, unwanted, unloved, unappreciated, undermined, misinterpreted as a slave. Yet I'm dressed in his purpose, being a woman. I am the invisible image of the invincible God. And I speak with confidence when I say God was not bored when he thought of me, a woman. I am the one chosen, examined, strengthened, set apart, entrusted not only as a carrier, but a distributor of hidden mysteries. I am a woman. I'm beaten up. I'm humiliated. I'm raped of self-worth, raped of dignity, named call, silenced by society and morality, forced to stave in a pot of death. It hurts. I was hurting. I'm hurt. But got saved for a purpose, ordained for a purpose. And then again, I'm a woman in love by he who pleasures me repeatedly, the one who taught me that one cannot take pleasure without giving pleasure, that every inch of me, every kiss, every caress, every touch, every last bit of the body has its secret that brings happiness to the one who knows how to awaken it. The one that knows that my beauty is not in my silhouette, my kinkiness or my sexiness, but lies deep in the valley of my heart. Lukunutung lemurena. Rapela musadi. I am a woman searching for a peaceful tomorrow, where freedom is my birthright, that I don't have to fight for it. A woman in searching for woman with purpose, reason, and season. I am. Arriba!
On that note, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome to the platform from the Department of Sport, Arts and Culture, our DDG for Corporate Services, Ms. Mandisa Chikwatamba. A round of applause.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon to everyone. Mine is just a quick task, a task of appreciation and just summing up on the deliberations of today. I want to start by saying words of appreciation to our Minister, Minister Mthethwa, and Deputy Minister John Jeffrey, to say thank you for creating this platform for us, and thank you for creating this platform for us. I'm saying this pointing to both sides because as officials in departments, we are guided, and we might have put together this session of today, but it comes from the guidance from the leadership. And of course, I'm pointing to you because I can see that this is a platform that you have enjoyed. And I appreciate the presence of youth in this platform of today. I also want to further on say thank you as well to our panelists for coming and making yourselves, I would say, vulnerable. Because whilst you have to speak from this side, you also belong on that side. Because before you sit there, you are members of communities. So the things that they speak about, you experience them face to face. I also want to say thank you to our program directors, and I must say it to say, yes, we are talking about DDG Kumalo, who is also our acting Deputy Director General. Our acting Director General, but we are also talking about Masechaba Khumalo, who is our spokesperson. Let me say upfront, there is no relationship. It just happened to be so. But the good thing about it is that our Director General, I sometimes don't want to say acting because I want her to take full responsibility of the responsibility she has accepted to say it is good to have you today as the program director because you are very close to the program. You are very close to what our audience has been sharing. You are leading the programs that have been displaying what we are talking about when we are saying sometimes through art we communicate, and sometimes through sport, let's being with us, we communicate. And these two, they are very key instruments in social cohesion and nation building. And back to our program director number 2, to say thank you very much because you are a thread that links us to media, and programs of this nature are important programs, and their importance only outlives when we have media with and around us and alongside with us. So I am also pointing to all the technicians that are here, including media stream, to say keep on following us, keep on talking about us in a balanced way. I must say that, to say don't choose stories that you want to say, tell everything that you've heard, because there is always a balanced story somewhere in everything that is being said. I also want to further on and say we are thankful to the artists themselves for giving it out and making it a reality that our programs, there are programs that are closer to the people. And further on to our entities, I see a number of them here. I also see another member of a board there from the Robben Island Museum. And I'm saying thank you for staying the course, making sure that we emulate what is the policy of government through the programs that you are running and supporting each other as the entities. I think that is a very important note, the note of support amongst the entities, because the true display of the storyboard of what government is trying to do with the entities, it's only showing when the entities are working together. That's when the pieces of the puzzle come together to give a clear and a complete story than when we see the entities one by one. I also want to say thank you very much as well to the audience that you have been, an audience that has assisted us in realizing what we came here thinking we are going to achieve. We came here thinking we are going to achieve sending out some messages and drawing from you a message that says, as government, we are staying the course, trying to pick pieces of what we are leaving behind us, putting them together to tell a story of the efforts that are being made in order to respond to some of the things that you communicate with government. But further on, also to say, as part of the theme of the month, to say we are sustaining this cause. We are making sure that we are building on, we are building more, we are becoming more relevant, we are becoming more closer to you, because we are trying to ensure that there is resilience from all fronts, resilience towards building the culture that we want to see, a culture that is preserving the human rights. I must, towards conclusion, note that part of the sub-theme of the day today, it's a sub-theme that says, leave no one behind, walk for your rights. And I think you have walked with your hearts. You have poured out your hearts, and I think the panel and yourselves, no one is going to leave each other behind as we move forward with the program of the month, the program of the Human Rights Month. This is a program that, as I say, messages that are coming from you are messages that say we want to be recognized, we want to be respected, we want to be protected, but we are also taking responsibility. And I think the same message has come from this side. And as I have acknowledged the presence of media, I want to say, let us continue this advocacy program. Let us continue informing each other. Let us continue educating each other. Let us continue engaging. And above all, let us find ways to intervene. And I want to say, in the journey that we are walking, we are giving high recognition to vulnerable groups. We are giving high recognition to analyzing our legislative framework to see where else improvements are needed for a better impact. We are looking at our programs to say, how do we create a better, conducive environment? And we are saying, we are looking at each other as well to say, what do we do and what shall we do to ensure that there is co-living in harmony despite our diversity. And of course, we will not be able to talk to each other without languages. That's why languages have become an important factor in the program of this month. And finally, as I said, youth that is here, it is for us a symbol of hope that says, when the first line generation gets tired, there is youth that is following. You have demonstrated that. Thank you very much, and thank you. Continue following us on social media platforms. The program is continuing. Every day you wake up and check what is happening on the social media platforms of DSEC. That's where you will know almost on a daily basis where we are until the 21st of March and beyond, until the end of the month. But we are not just stopping only in March. all our programs, especially the National Days programs, they uphold issues of human rights. Thank you very much.
On that note, ladies and gentlemen, please don't rush off. Yes, please don't rush off. Lunch has been prepared for all of you, our VVIPs, and there are shuttles that are waiting outside to take you to the Freedom Park restaurant where we can break bread and continue the engagements. And mine is really just to say, let us go out there and be the change that you want to see in the world. Have an impactful Human Rights Month, everyone. Good afternoon.